Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to round number 2 of the Colgan Racing Xperience. It's the first short track race of the year, and it's at a legendary one, North Wilkesboro Speedway. We're so glad you could join us on the Slide Job Racing Network for live coverage. I'm Marty Sakala alongside Nolan Rempel. Nolan, we have a treat for tonight. 175 laps around this abrasive surface, and the thing that comes to mind this evening is tire wear.
Oh, it absolutely will be. Tires are going to be the name of the game here tonight, Marty, as this is one of the tracks that is known to be rough on tires, and it's going to be one of those races where I think more towards the end of these runs, we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers kicking that back end out just to see if they can't keep that car pointed in the right direction.
Absolutely. You see qualifying taking place at the moment. Here's how our normal night goes for Colgan Racing Xperience. We've got time trials taking place for the next 3.5 minutes or so. Pull up the time here on your screen as well as the best lap times everybody is running. We'll follow that up with heats for the evening, which is scheduled for just about 10 laps. And then our feature later tonight is 175. If you missed us last week, Atlanta Motor Speedway was the place to be, and we had a phenomenal race. Kendrick Cryer took home the win over Austin Edwards. It was a 1-2 finish for the EHP team, and Kendrick Cryer comes in with a lot of momentum in car number 17, Nolan.
Looking to carry the momentum through, but of course the short track scene so much different than the speedway scene, but especially more so than in these street stocks. You know, when you go to a 1.5 mile circuit, even like Atlanta Motor Speedway, it very much is these cars' version of a super speedway race that we might see in Daytona, Talladega, you know, for the Truck Series, the Xfinity, the Cup Series. These street stocks, though, they're only made for one thing and one thing only, and that is short track. So you take them, you throw them on a 1.5 mile speedway, you know you're in for an exciting show. And as it was just 1 week ago over at Atlanta, I'm curious to see how these cars are going to handle up here now that we run down to a half-mile track.
Break down a little bit more of the info here for you. As you see, 175 laps, 6 sets of tires around this 0.6 of a mile racetrack. 76 degrees as well is the air temp, the wind blowing just about 8 miles an hour. So the track temp won't really be too much of a factor. However, though, it's going to be different factors when the drivers go down the straightaways here, Nolan, too, because one's uphill and the other one's downhill.
It's uphill in towards turn numbers 3 and 4, but it's right back down the hill in the 1 and 2, which is why you tend to see drivers take a much more wide arcing line over into turns 1 and 2, and even track it up towards that second lane a bit more. Turns 1 and 2, I think, are going to be the trouble spot for a lot of drivers today. It's very easy to step the back end out when you get onto the binders as the whole weight of the car shifts forward on that downhill incline. It's so easy for the back end to get light over your wheels to kind of make less contact with the racing surface and fire down in towards that very critical first couple of corners. So especially on restarts, it could be an interesting run. And honestly, you take a look at that outside run, right? And I think it'll be the outside lane for a lot of drivers here that it's going to be reigning supreme on the restarts.
Austin Edwards takes the number 18 to the quickest. 1965, he ties with Billy Snodgrass, so it comes down to the 1,000th of a second, and Edwards has the slight advantage. Let's see if he can better this one off of turn number 4. Off by 100, but still Austin Edwards on pole position for heat race number 1. Again, time trials sign the lineups for heat races. The heat races will then set the lineups for features. So
And it's looking to be a tight field right at the front too, Marty. You know, you got the top three separated by just 2/1000 of a second, a 652 to a 653 to a 654, and it is only another 14 thou back to the likes of Kendrick Cryer, last week's winner, and that number 17 running in that fourth position at the moment. So this is going to be one of those races where we're going to be seeing a huge dogfight for that lead, all the way from the start of the green flag of the heat race to the checkered flag in the main event.
Something to keep in mind as well, it is open setups for the drivers here. So we'll see if a long run allows a driver to pull away or so with a setup. But we're ready to go for heat race number 1. Let's meet the field. Here is the starting lineup. Austin Evers on pole position in the number 18. His official time was a 19.652, a thousandth better than the number 52 of Kenny Tripp. Travis Sukup on the inside of row number 2 next to the 27, driven by Matt Pelletier. Row number 3 on the inside is T-Money, Tyler McRae in the 13, next to Bob Eldred in car number 38. Row 4, Brandon Kiger in the 85, next to Stephen Wetton in the 28 ride. And rounding out your top 10 this evening, Adam Wilson, the 62, next to Nick Jazoboski in the 82. Robert Colgan in race control. So, actually, correction, Robert will be racing with us. We do have our race control. Colgan in the CRX number 94 ride.
So 11 cars make up heat race number 1, and it'll be 11 cars as well to make up heat race number 2. So perfectly split right down the middle, expecting potentially no consolation race here in this one, as I believe all of 22 will be getting to make their run in towards that 175 lap main event here tonight. The pace car starts us off on our first of 2 pace laps.
2 pace laps by Benny around North Wilkesboro Speedway. You see as well some of the favorite paint schemes you have here. You also see a throwback paint scheme with us being at North Wilkesboro. Adam Wilson, the 62, has brought out the John Andretti scheme with the Little Caesars Kmart ride. I remember those days back in the day when you would have a Little Caesars inside a Kmart.
I think that was past my time. I was more the McDonald's inside the Walmart type of person.
Okay, there we go. That's a memory. Now these days we have the Subway inside the Walmart.
As I've heard, there's also the occasional Pizza Hut inside the Target.
Yep, that is still a thing.
That's completely foreign to me.
That is still a thing, and I believe the Pizza Hut inside the Target, in my opinion, is much better than an actual Pizza Hut.
Well, we don't have we do have Pizza Huts. We don't have Targets up here in Canada anymore, so I'll have to swing down to the States sometime and see if that rings true.
Gotcha, I gotcha. Well, as we get set to go racing, let us know who you're rooting for in chat. We'll be sure to give you a shout-out on the air when we approach the warm-ups. Josh Doobie watching in chat, rooting for Kenny Tripp, as he is watching on Facebook. This is a multi-stream as well. We are broadcasting live off the CRX Facebook page and the Slide Job Racing Network YouTube channel. Green flag is out, underway for heat race number 1. Making their way through turns number 3 and 4, it's Edwards and Tripp side by side. The number 18 leads lap number 1, but Tripp won't give up. This is a track in North Wilkesboro. When it's early in a run, you can stay side by side just like that as Edwards gets spotted. Close call for him. Nolan, he makes a great save.
Punt right to the back bumper by the Rex's Garage, number 27 Street Stock, as we hightail it into 3 and 4. Back down the hill, Tripp will lead lap number 2, becomes our first lead change on the 9. Like I said, that outside lane, it's going to be the place to be on the restarts, but now Edwards has figured out the inside. He's going to be able to try to pull clear of Pelletier here down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. And that is now going to trap the 27 side by side. Scored is 38.57 on the car for Bob Eldred down the hill.
And this could start to bring Tyler McRae as well into the picture in car number 13 as you ride on board with him for just a slight moment.
Tyler McRae doing a good job. You can see all the wheel work that goes in keeping these street stocks pointing in the right direction, though. It very much is a whole lot of counter steering. A lot of the times, I like to kind of consider these cars, you know, always trying to save the car when you're running through the corners, especially at a track like North Wilkesboro where the grip is, you know, so fallen away. I think other tracks that ring true to that statement would be Five Flag Speedway, Myrtle Beach, and Langley. Those are some other tracks where the grip for these street stocks just not all the best that you might get at other tracks like USA International.
One driver in the pits, that is Travis Sukup in the number 45. 5 to go in heat race number 1. Look out! Pelletier sideways to the wall hard. Remember, no caution flags in the heat races, so that will put Pelletier from the back. And the driver of the Dropping Bombs 27 with some pretty good damage, especially on that left front fender. Let's take a look and see what happened here, Nolan, in our replay.
As Matt Pelletier just gets up, and I think what happened there is Bob Eldred had to lift out to avoid going up into the outside wall, and Pelletier caught unawares, just hooked into the left rear quarter panel, and that's what sent Pelletier head on into that inside wall. The good news is, though, no meatball flags, so we'll be able to keep it on the racetrack. It's so far on the lead lap, so there is still the chance here within the next 2 laps that more attrition could fall about this field, and he can make up a free spot or 2.
Coming to 2 laps to go here, and Austin Evers has trickled the gap down on Kenny Tripp. There you see how it's looked in the past couple of laps. It's dropped down to a half second. Last time by, Edwards was better by a 10th. So still hanging in there, still a little bit consistent, but there's a better idea. Let's take a look coming to the white flag with 1 to go. Kenny Tripp still with the slight advantage, and Tripp again was slower. However, though, the helmet looks like he's got it off turn 2, Nolan.
He's going to take that car around into turn numbers 3 and 4. It is no dice for Austin Edwards. Kenny Tripp will be your Heat 1 winner at North Wilkesboro.
Austin Edwards second, Bob Eldred third. Good race for fourth at the end. Tyler McRae over Brandon Kiger. Adam Wilson sixth. Robert Colgan seventh. Nick Jazoboski eighth. Stephen Wetton ninth. Matt Pelletier 10th. Travis Sukup finishes in 11th. Well, Heat 1 is in the books. We're now ready to go for Heat Race number 2. Nolan, let's get the starting lineup.
Starting up on pole position for Heat Race number 2, it's going to be Billy Snodgrass alongside Kendrick Crayer over on that front row. Aaron Raymond brings it up down on row number 2 alongside Steven Rex. Jason Snodgrass going to be down to round out the top 5 on row number 3. He lines it up side beside Chase Johnson. Jonathan Bergeron going to be down to that 7th position alongside Don Jordan on row number 4. Row 5 holds Kyle Bartles and Brad Ebby, and Joseph Hurd, believe that to be our race controller, set to start up in that 11th position.
Good field here set for Heat Race number 2. Of course, Kendrick Crayer in that Pizza Inn number 17, coming off the strong win last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That Dropping Bombs clan, though, did not make it easy for Kendrick Crayer. It gives you a better idea here on North Wilkesboro. I said this on the broadcast, Nolan, last week, but Kendrick Crayer and Austin Evers looked like they had a lot of cops going after them, like a high-speed chase.
I'm not entirely surprised by that. It's one of those cases where you tend to get that sort of action when you get down to the speedway races like this. And of course, there are plenty of police car paint schemes for these street stocks out there, and you're always hard pressed to find a lobby where somebody isn't running one somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. Street stocks come to mind. Road cars probably come to mind as well. I don't know what else.
There's a racer down at my local drag strip that's got an old Camaro Z28. He's decked it out in RCMP colors, light bar and all, and he makes a frequent run for high school nights.
Nice, that's awesome. Give you a quick look at the weather here. Track temp currently at 87 degrees at the moment. Not hot, luckily, Nolan. However, though, still warm enough where the tires can have some degradation.
Warm enough where there's some deg, but not that these drivers have to be concerned about in these 10 laps or even the 12-lap consolation that we might be seeing later on in this race. We're into the restart zone, though. Green flag is back on the way from North Carolina.
Crayer with the slight advantage in the turn 1, but however, he does not have Billy Snodgrass clear until then. Middle groove with the advantage off turn number 2. Cops nearly go 3 wide for the 2nd position. Snodgrass with the edge over Aaron Raymond, Steven Rex, Billy Snodgrass, Chase Johnson. Crayer leads lap number 1. One sideways off for 4. It's Snodgrass. Nice save for the 199. Jason Snodgrass, but trouble in front, though.
It is complete calamity amongst the Rex Garage's colors as Aaron Raymond threw it in and got into the back of Billy Snodgrass. Now he's going to be side by side with Steven Rex, but Raymond was able to hold that car steady, and now he powers through with that third position off of turn number 4, down the hill into turn number 1. All of this allowing for Kendrick Crayer to really pull out a lead at the Pizza Inn Chevrolet.
At the first 19-second lap of the day. So that gives you a good idea of how quick he is running. As another one sideways off at turn number 4. This time it's Rex in the 37. This tire wear, I mean, I know it's early in the run, but it's starting to bite a lot of guys here, Nolan.
That's part to do with getting on the throttle as well, as these cars really do not like it when you just stamp it down. You want something that likes that, go drive the late model stocks. Kyle Bartels trying to keep it tucked on the outside of Jonathan Bergeron. Bergeron throwing it down to the bottom. He's going to step out the back end down to the turn numbers 1 and 2. Once again, that second groove really is a great momentum ride if you know how to drive it down the hill.
And Bergeron just about got swallowed at a bumper from behind, but nearly won around as you're on board from the back end of that number 88. Let's go to the race for P2 as Raymond dirt tracks it into turn number 1. Gap remains a car length and a half. We're coming to 4 laps to go to the start-finish line. Last time by, Raymond was better by 300ths, but Billy Snodgrass not giving up that bottom one bit.
Working down into turn numbers 1 and 2 with 4 laps left on the docket in heat race number 2. We get set to set the grid. Whoa, a big block to the inside as Billy Snodgrass again had to lift out of the throttle to avoid going to the outside wall. Cut off Aaron Raymond in his attempt to go for that second position as we run back down the hill with 3 to go.
And Raymond nearly gave him the bumper into turn number 1. Does it come this time? Just barely off of 2. Does Raymond peek his nose underneath? Yes, he does. Takes a peek downstairs. That's the race for the 2 position. Raymond, though, has to let off for just a moment. 2 to go at the line, Nolan.
2 laps to go. Raymond's got the nose in. Can Billy Snodgrass try to lunge this one around the outside? They're going to run doors through 1 and 2 at the bottom of the hill. But back upstairs, it is going to be Billy Snodgrass looking to be losing out in that fight for second as we get set to take the white flag.
All this happening behind Kendrick Crayer in the Pizza Inn, number 17. Final circuit for Heat 2 at North Wilkesboro. We've got a Snodgrass race for P3. I wonder what the loser's going to do in this matchup. There's bragging rights on the line between Jason and Billy. What happens in a turn number 3? Billy washes up. Jason's got third. Crayer wins Heat 2. Raymond second. Jason and Billy third. Rex rounds out the top 5.
That's going to leave Kyle Bartels, Chase Johnson, Jonathan Bergeron, Brad Ebel, Don Jordan to round out the 10-car Heat 2 field. And sure enough, it's going to be straight through into the main event with no consolation required.
Absolutely. We've got the warm-up here. This gives drivers an opportunity to figure out where their pit stall is. Not really a chance to get laps in. This is where drivers have to find their pit stall when they have to come in for a pit stop. So with that being said, we're going to take an opportunity to take a brief break here. We're going to mute the mics while at it, and we will step aside. Stay with us on Slide Job Racing Network, round 2 of CRX. It's coming up next. Warm-ups in the books. Austin Edwards, the quickest of the 1962. 13 drivers taking time out. Everyone else looking for their pit stall. So we're set to go for the second feature of this season. Let's meet the field. Here is your starting lineup. On the front row, it's the helmet. Kenny Tripp in the 52. Next to Kendrick Cryer in car number 17. Row number 2, Austin Edwards in the 18. Next to Aaron Raymond in car number 10. Row 3 is Bob Eldred in the 38 and Jason Snodgrass in the 199. Row number 4, Tyler McRae in the 13 and Billy Snodgrass in the 99. Rounding out your top 10 here for this evening. Row 5 is Brandon Kiger. Oh, excuse me. Got that messed up. There we go. Row 5, Brandon Kiger in the 85. Next to Steven Rex in car number 37. Nolan?
Adam Wilson brings it up on row number 6 alongside Kyle Bartels with Robert Colgan down to the 13th spot. Chase Johnson is going to be in 14th on row number 7. Row 8 holds Nick Jezebowski down in 15th place with Jonathan Bergeron in the 16th spot. Stephen Wetton going to be down on row number 9 alongside Brad Ebel. It is Matt Pelletier after wrecking hard in the first heat race to round out the top 20 alongside Don Jordan with Travis Sukup and Joseph Hurd rounding out the field.
175 laps around the North Wilkesboro Speedway, as you can see, per live timing. And again, 6 tire sets that the drivers have. Keep in mind, though, the fuel limit here tonight, Nolan, is regular at 100%, so all the drivers will have to rely on is tires. If a caution flag comes out, in the words of Larry Mack, you're going to want your 4 fresh tires.
You most certainly will. It's going to be a real test of endurance tonight to see which one of these cars will be able to weather that pressure and see who will come out on top in North Carolina.
1 lap until we take the green flag here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Let us know your predictions on who you think is going to win this evening. Couple of other fans checking in. Hello to David Goyat, rooting for Grady. I believe that's all the updates we have here at the moment. But yeah, let us know who you're rooting for in chat, and we'll be giving you a shout out live and on the air. But Kendrick Cryer and Kenny Tripp set to bring us to green for 175 laps. Benny the pace car pulls into pit road. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? It's showtime from North Wilkesboro. Tripp and Cryer still door-to-door. Looks like a pace lap after lap number 1. Tripp back on the gas first. He leads the opening circuit. Austin Edwards underneath Kendrick Cryer for the 2 spot. Does he have it? Nope. Cryer gets back on the throttle first. Door-to-door for the lead. 1 sideways. It's McRae, but a great save early, Nolan.
Cryer able to drive it around the outside of 1 and 2. He'll carry the momentum through to 3 and 4. Clears for the race lead down the front straightaway. We are wrecking behind, though. Caution flag is out. Robert Colgan has been spun around behind to the number 94.
And a solo car spin from the looks of it. And the CRX founder involved early. And let's take a quick look at a replay, show you what happened. There you see Colgan in front of him, Bergeron and Wilson for position, and behind him is the 82 of Jazabowski. Ooh, gets in the 717. I think he just checked up, Nolan.
Yeah, a little bit of a stack up right in the middle of the pack there, as you rightly mentioned. And I think that had to come with when Chase Johnson was rear-ended by Jonathan Bergeron. That's what stacked the field up first, and there was just nowhere at that point for Robert Colgan to go in that deal. Great job by Jezebowski to get around that in the number 82. I think he was right behind that whole mess, missed by only a few inches.
And you could tell his car was a little bit nervous in that. Let's show you as well. Look at the 82's front bumper here, Nolan, when we come to turn 4. Legit, look at that front bumper.
He already knew what was going to happen
there.
Yeah,
he already knew what was coming. Let's go on board here with Colgan. Right in car with the 94.
We'll be able to see that checkup on the outside line. Right there's the contact initially, and then, yeah, nothing that Robert Colgan can do in that deal as he gets spun around. Tell you what, though, he did a good job to keep that car out of the barriers for the most part. A little bit of a kiss there right at the hitch, but it's a little dent to the back bumper. It's better than taking a face-first run into it like that one driver did at the heat races.
Yeah, absolutely. Two drivers decide to pit, Matt Pelletier and Stephen Wetton. Now, this is an interesting decision by both the 27 and the 28. 18 and 22 second pit stops respectively. Now, when you convert that to a street stock, that's pretty much like 2 tires.
Often maybe take right sides on that deal. It's one of those cases it could be of some great assistance when you're trying to get yourself sorted with those tires early on. You do have 6 sets to burn, and I'm only expecting this to be a one-stop race otherwise in the middle of this whole run. So this could be an interesting call. I'm curious to see if it's going to pan out for them, though, only 2-3 laps in.
Probably also at the same time, drivers trying to maybe top off on fuel possibly could be an idea as well. If you want to try and go longer, if we have a long run, before going into a pit stop. While we're at it, I think it's going to be 1 to green this time by. Yes, the lights are still on the pace car. Let's take a look as well here, Nolan, on Kendrick Cryer, how he made the pass for the lead.
Carry the momentum absolutely beautifully through turn numbers 1 and 2, and from there it was no contest down in 3 and 4. Able to break so much later, so much more confident than the 52 underneath, and that is what allowed for Cryer to take over that race lead ahead of Kenny Tripp.
Field is doubled up. We're ready for the restart. Kendrick Cryer, Kenny Tripp, row 1. Austin Evers, Bob Eldred, row number 2. Row 3 is Aaron Raymond and Billy Snodgrass. Row 4, Tyler McRae and the 199, the 37 is Stephen Rex, Jason Snodgrass, and Brennan Kiger round out the top 10. Cryer, the control car, as we're back to green, but Tripp fired pretty well at the same time. Normally at a short track like North Wilkesboro, normally the leader that fires on the restart is normally gone, but Tripp timed it pretty well. He's got a chance of this race lead, Nolan.
He's got to carry the momentum around through 3 and 4, though, to still be alongside the door by the time they get down to 1. He's not going to do it, though, as Crayer able to carry more speed around the bottom line. Kendrick Crayer now takes the lead away, and he'll clear down to turns 1 and 2. It's still double file, though, for the number 2 spot on back. Right behind, Austin Edwards going to allow Tripp to get clear for second. He's side by side with Bob Eldridge for number 3.
Nice run by the 57 of Bob Eldred. Don't believe we saw him last week. Hang on, Kenny Tripp. Sideways, Austin, and we got a yellow. Second caution is out for Jadzaboski.
Avoided the first wreck, didn't avoid the second one. It started with Brad Ebel, though, getting loose off of the second corner, and Jadzaboski was just an innocent bystander in this whole deal.
Yep, nowhere to go. Oh, that's a pretty good hit for the 56, too.
Yeah, right into that little opening in the outside wall where you see usually safety vehicles. Well, I guess they used to sit there back in this old 1986 configuration. I'm not sure if that opening's still there. I'd imagine it's not, though. That'd be a pretty big safety concern for today. They would all be on the infield nowadays. But, yeah, pretty hefty hit. That's one of the worst places you could actually hit at this racetrack in general, just short of the actual Armco guardrails.
Yeah, remember this was as well the pre-SMI configuration.
Mm-hmm.
So that was back when they had the opening. Let's ride on board with Jadzaboski.
Where do you go? I mean, he had a card, it was inside. There's just not a lot you can do in that situation.
Nothing he can do. So Jadzaboski brings the ride in. Same with the 56 of Brett Epley. We've seen the 717 of Jonathan Burge run on pit road for a while. Just been nearly 2 minutes. Now you see some right side damage. I don't know how he secured that. I know he was hit from behind by Colgan on the first caution, but the second yellow.
I found it. Lap number 9, as the caution came out, he got, or not as caution came out, as the green flag came out, he got into somebody else, spun to the inside. You know that guardrail that's right in turn numbers 1 and 2? He absolutely went face first into the end of that car, that guardrail here.
Let's show you here. In the back of the field, runs into the back of Pelletier, spins into the grass. Oh my!
That'll do it.
Yep. And that's pretty much the end of it. That's the third. That's like a 30-minute repair at least when the engine goes kaboom like that.
Not even a repair, that's a replacement. That's why it takes so long. You have to take the whole assembly out, put a new one right back in. I doubt most street stock teams would have spare engines on the property, mind you, but hey, to each their own, I suppose. I mean, this is iRacing, anything's possible. You can throw, Formula Vs on the Irwindale figure eight if you want to. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, we are at the Slide Job Racing Network, your home for iRacing leagues. If you have a league series or a special event and you would like to get some exposure, go to slidejobраcingnetwork.weebly.com and click on the broadcast inquiries form. So SJRN offers broadcast quality shows at a really good price. Reset the field as we come back to the green. Kendrick Cryer, Kenny Tripp, row number 1. Austin Edwards and Bob Eldred, row 2. Aaron Raymond, Tyler McRae, row 3. The Snodgrasses on row 4. Stephen Rex, Kyle Bartles round out the top 10. We're set to come back to green. 2 cautions in the books. 15 laps go up on the pylon this time by. And another good restart from Kenny Tripp entering turn number 1. 3 wide in turns 1 and 2 for just a small moment. But Cryer clears off the corner for now. Tripp got some bite though off turn 2 to his advantage. You've got Raymond up there. You've got Eldred up there as well. Cryer clears. He's got the lead back.
Cryer's got the lead, tries to send him down to the 1-2 to clear. Here comes Austin Edwards with the Hail Mary. Thought he might try to go for the lead. It'll end up only be a drag race, though, with the 52 of Kenny Tripp back up the hill into turns 3 and 4. And still Austin Edwards going to able to pull clear down from the inside line, or attempt to, not going to quite get there. Kenny Tripp working that outside line, but at the moment, Tripp just hasn't had the speed. Look out, Raymond.
That's Aaron Raymond that was sideways entering turn number 1. Now, Raymond is a guy that, even if he has teammates working with him, he's very ambitious. He wants to go for the lead at any point in time. If he's in a fight for a position, he will absolutely go get it. Running in 4th, clears Eldred for the spot. Next guy ahead's that 52. As you see, Billy Snodgrass on Eldred for the 5th position. A nice move from Snodgrass. He's made a good charge so far early here. Nolan up 3 positions in the 5th.
Up 3 positions, as I mentioned, in towards the top 5, and you can see working down to the bottom is going to be now Tyler McRae trying to pull clear from Bob Eldred, not going to get there, as well as that. But like you mentioned, up the road, Aaron Raymond down in that 3rd spot, still fighting it out for number 3. The last spot on the podium, Kenny Tripp finally going to lose it fully from the outside line. We single file things out for really the first time all night for at least the top 5. But for 5th, Bob Eldred still in that fight with Tyler McRae down at the bottom of the hill.
Eldred's got that advantage on the drive off. We talked about that a little bit back during heats here, Nolan. You get a slight advantage on the turn off, but going on in, obviously, the low line will be key. But on the high side, worked pretty well for Eldred, but up the track in the center.
McRae pulls clear as Bob Eldred again had to lift down to avoid going into the outside wall. That opened up the door for Stephen Rex to take away the number 7 spot. Here comes Brandon Kiger now trying to make a run for 8th as Kiger going to go down to the inside line, and that's going to allow Bob Eldred to pull clear. And now it's about a 3-car length gap back to Kyle Bartles for the top 10. This is going to allow Eldred to finally go back on the defensive to the inside of 1.
Kendrick Cryer continues to lead, 0.4 of a second on his teammate Austin Edwards. Let's focus on the race for the bottom step of the podium. Raymond has it over Tripp. The 52, though, wants it back badly. Now, his plan, I would say at the moment, just to remain patient as you ride on board with him, Nolan. And that is something interesting as well. Take a look at the gear he is running.
Running a lower gear, and that's not something that we very typically see here in these machineries here at the short tracks. These are 4-speed transmission, and usually drivers they'll have a tendency to stick around with it over in that 4th gear, but not so much it would seem for Kenny Tripp, who's been running in 3rd for a good majority of the time. Now that does have its advantages, right? It does allow you to actually get back onto the power a bit more aggressively. You have more power in the acceleration, but you're going to suffer on overall top-end speed.
Absolutely. Focus on the race for the 10th spot. Chase Johnson and Kyle Bardos is the lone side-by-side matchup, and Johnson's able to take it away from Kyle Bardos. The number 11 started in 14th, currently rides in P10.
This battle for 10th on back is starting to really separate out from a majority of the rest of this field here, as Chase Johnson trying to hang on for that last spot inside the top 10. Right in front of him, you've got that 4-car scrap for 9th through 6th. At this point, though, I think we've really settled into how the run-of-the-mill of this race is going to pan out. So I think at this point, drivers are more just seeing, what can I do now to set myself up for potential strategy call later on down the line.
Do they also try to save tires at this point and just try and figure out where is the faster way to go? Obviously, you want to take the shortest route to save tires at the same time, but it's going to be tough to pass now on this long run.
And that's one very interesting thing to note about street stocks, right, is the fact that it is very difficult to pass once you get single file like this. And that could be due in part to how these cars pan out. Of course, 375 horsepower. That's nothing to shrug off when you compare it to road cars, right? But you look up to the big cars, like the NASCAR stock cars that have 670 horsepower, or even sprint cars that have got 800 plus. It's really not that much. These are not powerful race cars. Small block Chevrolet engines with a wheelbase only 107 inches. So it's, small tires, smaller engines than most series run. Not aerodynamic beasts, and that does make it very difficult to make runs, but it also makes sure that the racing still remains tight. So you're not going to see a lot of passing, but you are going to see a lot of bumper-to-bumper action like what we've got right here in this fight for 9th.
Absolutely, and that is Chase Johnson moving up another spot. Kiger goes down one. He may go down another if Barrows can pull up to the inside. Now, when a driver enters turn 1, Nolan, it can be a little bit of an illusion to drivers, because as we'll show in just a moment, we'll show here when we go on board with Kendrick Cryer, you can see going into turn number 1, wider than you think because of that extreme low line, which is meant for pit exit and can sometimes come back to haunt you.
It's come back to haunt me many a time. I've actually cut that turn 2 apex early. You see right there where the line comes out to greet you. So many off-track 1Xs, laps invalidated through that section. It is the most irritating thing, because in 3 and 4, they have a little curb that you hop over to prevent you from doing so on the inside. Not so much on 1 and 2, so it does make that grass very, very enticing, but you so much as look at that patch of grass the wrong way, it's going to be spinning your car around at the exit of 2.
That curb as well, you can see just about right there. That's, I believe, the curb that actually helped out Kyle Larson win the All-Star race earlier this year. Austin Edwards, though, is pulled up to the spoiler of his teammate once again. Now, knowing Austin Edwards really well, when he's got a teammate in front of him, he's going to be very patient. Just doesn't want to race him really hard, considering they're good teammates and good friends. But he just wants to be patient, make sure these two make it out to the end where they can race for a win.
I always like to see it when drivers are opting to be a bit more patient with one another, especially if, they're in the same team. So Austin Edwards and Kendrick Cryer might be looking to even work together to try to build that gap up. Together, they've worked out between 7 and 9/10 of a second back from the third-place driver of Aaron Raymond. And right now, Raymond really not in a position to do much about it. So we'll see what Raymond will be able to do, as we'll obviously see how that's going to pan out. You had just seen as well that fight for the 8th position as Tyler McRae started to fall further back down through this field. The Sim Speed Shop, number 13, trying to keep it to the outside of the Rex's garage, number 11. He'll just be able to tuck in line between the two teammates. Brandon Kiger going to work behind him back down to turn number 1.
Just heard somebody else clip the wall. Not too sure who it is, but Chase Johnson on a charge. He's pretty good on these long runs. He likes to save tires. He's currently moved up into P8. You've got McRae back in the 9th spot. Brandon Kiger rounds out the top 10. Your biggest mover of the race so far is also in this pack, and that's Travis Sukup, who started from last. He's been able to avoid 2 incidents, and he's currently in P12 here at Nolan. As you see in front of them, McRae and Kiger back looking at them for the race for P9. Kiger takes it away. McRae looks like he's been fading in these last 10 laps or so, Nolan.
It really has been. I mean, McRae so far, he's definitely down from where he started in this race. He's now down 3 positions from where he started way up in that 7th spot, and he's about to drop even more as he's down now 4 down to 11. He's going to lose out on Kyle Bartels. Now, that is all the hallmarks of pushing too hard too soon. May have overheated those right sides, burned them up a little bit, and now he is starting to really fall back. That's one interesting thing to note about these street stock tires. They have a lot of wear, right? You will be able to get a lot of laps out of them. At least 50 to 70, maybe even 100 plus on one set. But you can get to a point where it feels like they're so much lower than they are. I've had, 30 lap races where I've just burned the ever-living crap out of the right sides. I've had cases, where I've felt like this tire, when I come into the pit, it's going to be down to like 40%. I'll go into pit, it's at 85. It doesn't take much for you to start to really feel that wear on these tires, even though you could go a lot longer than you think.
Oh!
Whoa! Tyler Sukup giving a shove way up the track, just keeps it out of the outside wall. A bump and run there for Snodgrass.
That was close, and oh boy, in the words of Darrell Waltrip, that's a teammate. And Sukup's not going to be too pleased about that, what Jason Snodgrass just did. Oh, Pelletier!
Oh, no!
That collects Jason Snodgrass. Yellow lights are on.
That was another teammate, Pelletier. Right rear hooked into the outside wall.
Not been the day for Matt Pelletier. His second accident, and the front end is destroyed. That front end doesn't look like a NASCAR. The way it's curved up, it looks like an Indy car. The way it is now.
I'll give some credit to Snodgrass on that one. It wasn't an intentional hook. He had been kicking the back end out, and he got way sideways down to the turn number 1. He didn't have a whole lot of saying that deal. That was just the wrong place, wrong time for the 27.
You take a look into turn number 1. We'll show this briefly here because everyone's in pit road. Ooh, Snodgrass just, I think, was about to lose it entering turn 1, like he was turning while braking at the same time.
And that's what happens when you have to get on the binders around that outside lane. It's always going to be a bit sketchy as we see drivers down and into pit road. First one out going to be Billy Snodgrass, taking over the race lead on a right tire only stop.
Lot of strategy being played. Rex 2, Johnson 2, Kiger 2, Sukup 2, McRae 2, Raymond 2, Eldred 2, Bartles, Colgan, the top 10. Actually, I'm seeing some guys, believe it was from Raymond on back, deciding to take 4 tires. Other guys like Kendrick Cryer and Austin Edwards deciding, let's fill the tank up. Now, what I would guess some drivers did here is because of how short a track like North Wilkesboro is, 2 tires and fuel, and then go back out and put on your left side tires and then come out to stay on the lead lap.
It's not a bad call, actually. It's not the 14-second pit stops here when you're trying to get yourself onto the pit road, as Pelletier going to be back down into the pit road for damage repairs. You want to take a 4-tire stop here, you're looking 20 seconds plus, because these cars, they're not meant for tire changes, right? I mean, the longest you'd have one of these runs, you'd be hard-pressed to go to any local short track that would have a street stock feature of more than 30 to 40 laps.
Absolutely. Wow, Edit, let's take a ride on board here with Jason Snodgrass, see if we have it. And
Thinking about it.
Yeah. Oh, did this happen coming out? Did he spin coming out? Oh, that's what happened. He nearly clipped another driver.
I believe that would have been a teammate as well.
Yeah.
He just missed there.
Here's the Snodgrass onboard we were talking about.
Yeah, he was, I don't think he was going to fully lose it, but he was definitely going to be going down into the grass on the infield there, had the 27 up in right where he was.
Let's go to Pelletier.
It's going to be a heavy, heavy hit here as we look at the triple-digit machine on the outside and just wham! Huge hit into the outside wall. No chance to slow up whatsoever as we're coming to green.
Pace car is in. New front row. Steven Rex and Billy Snodgrass back to green.
A bumper from Chase Johnson. Oh, contact! And that's going to push Steven Rex up the hill as Chase Johnson gave Snodgrass a shove out of the gate down towards turn number 1.
And Rex may try bottom groove. Doesn't work. Meanwhile, everyone swallowed from Sukup on back. Double wide. with the 85 of Kiger edging out Raymond into turn 1. Also out brakes, we've got the 57 sideways. Close call for Bob Eldred. They were nearly 4 wide. Nolan off of 2.
Still 3 wide, up the hill in towards turn number 3. And it's looking like it will be Eldred to yield from the outside line of that deal. Wanted absolutely nothing to do with that, but he's going to fall from 9th all the way down to 15th in the span of just one straightaway as a result of that one, as he got way crossed up down the hill into the 1 and 2. Did the exact same thing we just saw Snodgrass do to start off that major incident.
Sukup and Raymond for the 4th position. Nice to see Sukup back up here in the front after he faded. On the walls, Kiger bounced off of it, and Bartos wants to use it to his advantage, but a shallow entry has to check up. The race for P4, though, still on between Raymond and Sukup. Can Raymond outbrake his teammate into turn 3? We'll just have to see if that's the case. Oh, and Sukup's really wide there, Nolan, off at turn 4. Check that, I'm sorry. That was actually the 85 of Kiger.
Whoa, and Cryer sends it to the inside.
And
big 3-wide move.
And Austin Edwards gave him the elbow to keep the teammates battling, and that's for the 10th spot, and Cryer gets away with it. Check that for 9th.
And that is stacked Brandon Kiger all the way up now in towards 1 and 2, where he's side by side with Adam Wilson, along with Stephen Wetton, Robert Colgan, and Bob Eldred in the mix of this as well. All 5 cars under a blanket from 11th on back. While we look further back up the train towards the battle for 3rd.
Yeah, Kiger just can't get out of no man's land one bit. As Raymond starts to close in on Rex for the bottom step of the podium, Adam Wilson is off the track. And he is back on it. Let's see if we can find him.
Just lost the back end into turn numbers 1 and 2 on lap 57. Got a little bit of a nudge as well from Steve Wetton, but nothing that I don't think will buff out. Just a small little slide. Good save though to keep that thing pointing in the right direction.
Mowing Paul Call's lawn. Not sure if the legendary groundkeeper of North Wilkesboro is gonna like that. But 59 laps complete. Couple of drivers citing some personal best lap times, and Draft Kenny Tripp 1984, Stephen Wetton 1994, Bob Eldred 1992. As you watch Colgan and Kiger for 11th here, Nolan.
Battle for 11th spot down and towards 1 and 2, side by side between Kiger and Robert Colgan. Colgan tracking up off the bottom in towards turn number 3 and 4. They rub doors once, twice, bouncing off the curb, and is Colgan gonna try to pinch him in. They hit again off of 4.
They're bigging and banging coming to the line. He says, you'll do that to me, I'll trade some paint to you. Rubbins Racing here at North Wilkesboro. And I don't think Kiger's too pleased that. I think I may have seen a virtual Tweety bird fly out of somebody's window. I don't know though. But Colgan gets away. He clears for 11th.
Great battle there with Robert Colgan. It's not over though. It's Kiger back to the inside. He's not done fighting. He's going to hit him again, and that time that'll be the nail in the coffin for Kiger's hopes on going for the 11th spot, as he'll remain side by side now with Stephen Wetton.
And did you see the scuffs on the right side of Kiger? I mean, I know this is not an aero-dependent track, but a lot of racing like that just loses a lot of momentum. This could allow Stephen Wetton to go around the longer way of the racetrack to take 12th.
Working down into 3 and 4. Bob Eldred trying to put himself up into the number 13 spot as Stephen Wetton still hangs on with that outside lane. All of this, we're not even halfway home, and they're already racing out here like it's the last lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back near the front of the field here, where Billy Snodgrass currently has about a half-second lead on Chase Johnson, Stephen Rex, and Aaron Raymond. For those wondering where your leaders before the long run ended are, Kendrick Cryer's in 7th, Austin Evers is in 8th, 7/10 of a second behind the 6th place guy, Kyle Bartles.
Here you can see that fight for the 5th spot still heating up as Kyle Bartles has caught up to Sukup now. Going for the over-under. That was a great crossover. It baited him down low in towards 1 and 2. Shoots for the inside into 3 and 4. And he's going to bump Suit Cup out of the top 5 while they got the fight for third going on just up the road.
Absolutely. That's Raymond to try and break in the podium, if not try to hold on to it from Chase Johnson, who's had a great night so far. You know, when I actually first met Chase Johnson, actually came at North Wilkesboro, he was not doing so well at that track one bit. A couple weeks later, we raced once again. He won at USA International Speedway in a fun race that I took part of with him. I finished in the top 10 at the end, but Chase Johnson, a young guy back at the time, now he's put up a couple years, and he's showing why he's a front runner in Streets.com in CRX.
Still trying to work with these guys here as we're going to keep on with this fight for the podium positions. Rex and Raymond running nose to tail. So far, Rex's garage sporting paint schemes up throughout the entirety of the top 4, and almost all of them under a blanket, but they're looking to fight it out with one another as well. So we'll keep eyes on that as that continues to develop. Here's Kenny Tripp trying to fight it out with Travis Suit Cup, as Suit Cup's been slowly falling, I think, a little bit more throughout the course of this run.
Now, remember, you got to keep in mind as well, a couple drivers taking 4 tires. Aaron Raymond took 4, Kyle Bartles 4, Kendrick Cryer, Austin Edwards, Kenny Tripp 4. In fact, let's pull up the pit stop time amongst the top 10. That could give you a good idea of how many tires each driver took. We can't give you an idea specifically because the iRacing EXC just doesn't have it. But we do have an idea of the pit stop time. And as you can see, as of right now, Snodgrass still leading with those 2 tires, but 4 tires, though, starting to close in just a bit.
And now, Bartles working with that outside line, trying to charge down in towards turns 1 and 2. Edwards hanging on to the bottom line pretty well here, though. I think that inside lane starting to come in a little bit more into 3 and 4. I don't think it's quite there yet in 1 and 2, but it's definitely the spot to be in 3 and 4 if you want to go on defense. If you can pull enough out into 3 and 4, they won't be able to throw it in deep enough around the outside of 1 and 2 to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, that lower line on 4 tires for Austin Edwards is definitely helping him out. I think that middle groove as well, if you do look closely with the long runs that we have had, I think we're starting to see some marbles up there throughout the corners, which just leads to that middle groove start to lose just a little bit of traction lap by lap. You see him right there in 1 and 2, Nolan. Actually starting to go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Actually starting to see a race for the lead briefly between Aaron Raymond and Billy Snodgrass. In fact, let's compare the last 5 laps here between 2nd and 1st. And there you see it right there. Raymond's been the faster car each time. And there he goes for the lead, pulls up to the quarter panel. I don't know if he's going to have it off turn 4 though, Nolan, or does he?
He's trying for it. Raymond's in the bottom of 1 and 2, and Aaron Raymond's a driver that if he wants to get a move done, he's going to find a way to get it done. He's going to try to power off the bottom off 1 and 2, but still Snodgrass with the momentum for the outside, but it's not going to matter into 3 and 4. Snodgrass breaks early, gives up the fight. Aaron Raymond will be your next race leader.
I think Snodgrass just pretty much let him have it thanks to those four tires that Raymond has over 2. Remember, coming into today, when they took the green flag, drivers had 5 sets of Hoosier tires waiting for them on pit road. Obviously, all the drivers have used at least one when we had that long run come to an end. I would expect next caution for tires to be taken once again. Just had a change for 8th spot as well, Nolan. Travis Suka past Kenny Tripp.
So Sukup starting to battle his way back up throughout this field after he took himself a bit of a fall down the order, but still by far the most spots gained out of anybody, plus 13 for restarted way at the very back of this field, started down in that 21st and final position on the racetrack, and now running inside the top 10. It's been a good recovery drive overall for Sukup, who's really starting to, I think, put on the pressure to some of the front runners. We could very well be seeing him fighting for a top 5 here before too long.
Also have another race, and it's near the front of the field. Steven Rex, Chase Johnson back at it for 3rd, but they've got the EHP drivers closing in like jaws. This is with Kendrick Cryer. And you can just see how quicker Cryer is than Chase Johnson here, Nolan. Last time by 2/10 better, at least 2/10 better in the last 2 laps.
And I think that really does mean that this could very well be a race that comes to fruition here in very short order. It only takes one move, right, to see all the progress that another driver's made come to a close, especially in these cars, with how volatile they are. Does not take much to unsettle them as to the inside of Billy Snodgrass. Steven Rex looked for it down to the 1 and 2. He'll look again at 3 and 4. This time he will get the nose in there. And I think it looks like Snodgrass is going to try to give that one up. Not wanting to fight that one out too hard. I think at this point, Billy Snodgrass thinking long term.
But now Cryer attacks Johnson. Same with Austin Edwards. He follows him like it's nobody's business. Cryer to 4th. Austin Edwards moves to 5th. Go back to the race for 2nd here. Snodgrass just trying to force that 37 into making a mistake, Nolan.
And so far, these drivers have not been able to, fall to such pressures, right? I mean, people have been trying to force these drivers into mistakes for the entire race, and so far, it hasn't really worked. Everybody's been running a very clean race so far throughout the entire duration, and we haven't even really hit lap traffic yet. In fact, there still is almost half a lap between the race leader and the very last car that sits in the line. So I think this could very well be one of those races where if a caution comes out, we could be able to see this be a race unimpeded by lap traffic.
Cryer looking for a podium spot into turn 1, just sends it deep. Contact with Billy Snodgrass. And this could get interesting now. See if
side.
Go ahead.
I was going to say side by side through 3 and 4. Austin Edwards trying to open up the door in the number 18. He's going to try to launch back to the inside.
And 4th position is Austin Edwards is off of turn number 2. While we're at it, we are past the halfway point. We have completed 87 laps, 88 this time by. Let's take a look at an iRacing rundown presented by iRacing, the world leader in sim racing. iRacing can let you race virtually many different forms of motorsports and series, from NASCAR, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and over 90 different series. iRacing, your portal to the racing world. Get on track at iRacing.com. Aaron Raymond, currently your race leader. He's racing with Steven Rex for the top spot. Kendrick Cryer currently is in 3rd. Austin Edwards runs 4th. Billy Snodgrass 5th. Chase Johnson 6th. Kyle Bardo 7th. Travis Sukup is 8th. Kenny Tripp 9th. And Bob Eldred rounds out the top 10. Nolan?
You look a bit further down to the 11th spot where you've got the likes here of Tyler McRae down to that 11th position, with the likes of Robert Colgan down in 12th. Brandon Kiger is going to be in the 13th position. Steven Wetton just behind in 14th, fighting out for that 13th position. You got Adam Wilson running a bit of no man's land along with Nick Jazobeski. But Jazobeski, of course, the final car on the lead lap. It is Don Jordan currently sitting in the lucky dog spot in the number 6, along with Matt Pelletier, also 1 lap down. Brad Ebel is on the racetrack, but he is 11 laps down, effectively out of contention for a win here tonight. And then, of course, you got Jason Snodgrass and Jonathan Bergeron, our 2 DNFs so far in the night.
Battle for the lead happening once again, and it's Steven Rex that's put the 37 out in point while we were on the full field rundown. Aaron Raymond loses the lead. Nolan, how'd it happen?
Well, this one took place all the way back on lap, I believe, number 90, and it was the case of, I believe it was the second place driver just made that look down in towards turn number 1, and I don't think Aaron Raymond was looking to fight that one out too much. He let him have it in 3 and 4, went almost up to the wall.
But now Raymond wants to fight it back, and now this is where the top 2 need to be careful, because if they keep fighting for the race lead like this, Cryer and Edwards will be breathing down the necks. There's a slide job by Raymond to put the 10 back out in front with 94 laps complete.
Oh, Steve Rex tried to get there right into turn numbers 1 and 2. Didn't end up happening, though. Aaron Raymond able to hang on to the race lead for now, up into 3 and 4. Now a little bit further back, you've got the fight start to develop for the top 5 as well. Chase Johnson side by side with Billy Snodgrass.
And you see Chase just about scrape the wall, opens it up for Billy to take away P5.
thought for a moment we might get a bump and run. It wouldn't be the first time Chase Johnson's put the bumper to somebody so far this race, but he's going to stay his hand. We look up to Austin Edwards and Kendrick Crayer in the fight for third. Starting to close up still on that fight for the race lead, sitting now just 0.8 of a second behind race leader Aaron Raymond.
Here's a look at the lap delta in the last 5 laps. That's from third to fourth. What about from second to third? This gives you a better idea. In fact, why don't we make it the last 10 laps? Look at that, Nolan. Look how much that's changed.
It's amazing what just 10 laps can do. Is it's really kind of come down in the last little while, and now as close as it's been for a while since the drop of the green flag when the top 2 began to run away with it. But now even Steven Rex starting to lose out against Aaron Raymond, as this is going to get interesting here. We have a big fight going on for the 10th position, though, as these guys getting 3 wide down to the turn number 1. And I think that's because Kenny Tripp got tripped up coming out of footboard.
And Tripp is getting held up as well by that 94 of Colgan. McRae looking to recover after a tough start in that long run where he faded back. Currently in the 11th spot, wants to break back into the top 10. Little tight entering turn 1 from the looks of it, Nolan, and nearly clips the grass. This one's not over yet.
Oh, contact! Sends Tripp up and wide. That's exactly what happened. It was a bump and run down in the turn 3 that caused him to get 3 wide like this in the first place. And another bit of hits is going to dump Kenny Tripp outside of the top 10. Well, up the road, Kyle Bartels loses out to Robert Colgan, who will now lead this train of 5.
Let's go further up here. Billy Snodgrass and Chase Johnson. I'm not sure if there was a bumper handed to by the 99. Johnson looks to counter back, but that doesn't work. Here's a brief look at how the pass was made once again. There was the Bristol bumper.
Just nudges them up and wide in towards turn numbers 3 and 4. It's always nice to see, a clean bumper run executed like that. I mean, so many people will just go out of their way to just run over the guy in front of them and spin him around and say, oh, it was a bump and run. You couldn't hold the car. That's a smash and sprint, my friend. Now that right there we just saw, that's a proper bump and run.
Absolutely. Let's go back up to the front of the field here. Steven Rex still wants Aaron Raymond, but for the first time today, leaders encountering lap traffic under green flag conditions. Of course, that first driver is the 56 of Brad Ebley. As he opens the door up for Aaron Raymond, should let him go without any issue. The thing the lap traffic have to be careful about too here is, Nolan, the marbles up in the corners.
We're starting to get a lot more of those marbles forming right up against the outside line. It's not so much of a problem because it's not like you can really run a Larson line. Might be a little bit of a concern for drivers trying to run that outer line and take that wider arc down in turns 1 and 2, as you saw Brad Ebel just get up into the marbles. And, of course, laps down, several laps down for Ebel, now 12 down. Going to be just getting up and out of the way. So he's not terribly concerned about it, but I'd be very curious on a restart here to see if those marbles would impact how these drivers get off that top line now.
Yeah, actually, definitely if we do get a restart in the final 69 laps or so, which it could happen possibly. We'll just have to see what happens. Now, if we do get that word, I won't say it, if we do get that word, if the long run expires, I have a really good feeling we're going to see drivers take tires, but how much fuel do they take?
I would say just the bare minimum to make it to the end. And if you end up having a green-white checkered, well, you can deal with it from there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 3-4 extra laps worth might not be a bad idea. You can always save on the yellow flags as well. But, we were talking about this earlier. Fuel was never really going to be too big a concern because these cars can hold a lot of fuel in them. It was always going to be a question about the tires. And now that we're over halfway, I think at this point it wouldn't be a bad idea to start thinking about coming on down, get a fresh set of tires, and get yourself back onto the racetrack.
Keep in mind as well, you just mentioned overtime. As you see Pelletier a little sideways in 1 and 2. Keep in mind one thing interesting about CRX. Unlimited green-white checkered attempts. Doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4 or over than that. They will go as long as we get to a white flag. We do see the first set of drivers in the pits. You just called it perfectly, Nolan. Chase Johnson, Brett Ebley in the pits. Let's pull up the track map and show you where your favorite driver is. Gives you a really good idea as well when the drivers do come in and out to see where they are on the screen.
You see everybody spread out around the entire range of the racetrack. You got your little battle packs elsewhere throughout the racetrack. You've still got that 3-car scrap for 8th through 10th. You've also got the big cluster of cars headed up the 4-car fight for the race lead, which has continued to close in, by the way. It's down to under 0.7 of a second in the fight for the race lead. So it is effectively now a 4-car fight here that we've got. And I think Aaron Raymond, Steven Rex, they've been steadily losing a bit more pace now that they had their big run up in the lead early on.
Again, let's go back to that time delta and show you the last 10 laps between 2nd and 3rd. And there you see what the turning point's been like. In fact, if we turn that off and go to Kendrick Cryer and show you the last 5 lap times and how quick he is. Rex was quicker last lap, but in 3 of the last 5 laps, Cryer has had the advantage.
He very much has, and it'll be, I think, still an interesting run to see how this is going to pan out as drivers continue to run these laps down. I believe it'll be 60 laps to go when we get back around and start finish line this time by, if I'm doing my math on that correctly. Raymond going to once again lap Brad Ebel, putting him now 16 laps down after Ebel had to come down to pit road, and now about to lap Jezbowski as well, who is, as it stands, the last car on the lead lap.
Take a ride on board here with Austin Edwards as he looks underneath on the 17 for the 3rd position. Ooh, and look at this. Rex got sideways off turn number 4. Here comes Cryer for P2.
Cryer to the inside of turns 1 and 2 here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. The 17 trying to track up and out. He's going to have to just keep it out of the door of the 37, and right behind, Austin Edwards looking left, looking right, trying to find some way to break through in this fight. Will he dare to make it 3 wide? He's going to give the bumper to the 17 and nearly hook him up into the 37.
That's his teammate as well, so got to be careful with that as Kyle Bartels brings his 88 ride on into the pits. All this is happening behind Aaron Raymond, which he is so glad to see take place right behind him.
Been on a long green flag run. It has and will be the longest green flag run all race long if we can keep this one rolling. And I have a feeling this could get feisty here in a minute as, again, Steven Rex working the outside line. Kendrick Cryer trying to keep his car pinned to the bottom, and he'll finally quit for 2nd place. Tracks up and just gets in front and chops off the nose of Steven Rex.
And he just barely had a bumper from Austin Edwards, and that does allow the 18 to move into 3rd. So the EHP drivers on this long run have moved back into P2 and P3. Now, what do they have for the 1st place car in Aaron Raymond?
We'll have to wait a few laps on that one to see whether Kendrick Cryer will be able to try to run down Aaron Raymond up the road. So far, Raymond was able to use that big battle to perfection. Pulls out over half a second lead on Kendrick Cryer at the moment, and that's a good 4 car lengths as Austin Edwards looks for the bottom.
I think Edwards gave him a small bumper to Kendrick Cryer for the first time today. Edwards is ahead of Cryer on a green flag run, and look at what this does for the 37. He had an opportunity, but then got sideways off turn 4. Rex stays put in 4th.
Now, Austin Edwards, I think, the driver that Raymond really needs to be concerned about, because they were fighting it out pretty heavily earlier on in the race as well for the lead. And already Edwards starting to reel in the gap as he's down to now under 0.6 of a second. He's closed in almost a whole 10th on just that last lap below when he made that overtake. And you can see the gap building up back to the 2nd place. Austin Edwards is flying right now.
Absolutely. Gap is down to a half second. Now, when he catches up to Aaron Raymond for this race lead, unless we get that other word to pop up, we'll tell you, Steven Rex, meanwhile, has brought the 37 into pit row. Let's pull the map back up here on your screen.
Caution is out, and
that
we have one
is
sideways.
Is that what you want if you're Steven Rex?
Not if I'm already down at pit road. That traps you laps down. This helps everybody else, though, that hasn't made a pit stop.
And the yellow is out for Matt Pelletier, and he has called it a night tonight. He is already out of the car and out of the race. Let's show you what happened.
Ended up sideways on the front straightaway. Oh, he had some help
From the 85
from behind.
of Kiger, and you see some slight front end, slight right side damage, but that car looks like it just got out of a war.
I'm curious they decided to call it quits. I mean, he wasn't very damaged. I think he was, he was already 2 laps down, so I think that's why.
Yeah.
He was one of the few drivers that had already made a pit stop earlier on. Of course, he had big damage as well, remember, from earlier in this race as well. So I think that's all why he decided to, call it a night. At that point, you're 2 laps down. You haven't been having a good night as it is. You're not going to be able to win it.
Big win for Aaron Raymond out of pit road. Austin Edwards second. 2 tires for Tyler McRae. 4 for Kendrick Cryer. Suka fifth. And a couple other drivers come in, Stephen White and Adam Wilson. They decide to stay out and then take 4 in field just so they can stay out on the lead lap. Couple of drivers did stay out, and that's your top 2, Bob Aldred and Billy Snodgrass. Now they actually correction, they took 2 tires. They just pitted last lap.
2-tire stop will make this an interesting run, I think, going forward. Remember, you mentioned that tires would be the name of the game. I would love to see the percentages on what some of these tires are at as it stands. A lot of drivers staying out, opting to take the wave around when we go 1 to green. That's going to put now 14 back to Jordan on the lead lap here.
Absolutely. While we're at it, we want to give a big shout out to one of the sponsors of CRX, and that is Advanced Powder Coating. Advanced Powder Coating is a service in Rockdale that can make your metal products look new again, from doors to rims to hinges and more. Get a quote today by calling 815-671-7026. And if you want to kickstart a career in broadcasting and production, if you have an interest in video production, commentary, graphics, or any other assets that could be valuable to a growing iRacing team, contact me, Marty Sakala, on Facebook or Twitter at Marty Sakala. That's spelled CZEKALA. A lot of drivers do take the wave around here, so we hit lap 130. Here's a look at the field and how they line up. Bob Eldred, Billy Snodgrass, row 1. Aaron Raymond, Austin Edwards, row number 2. Tyler McRae, Kendrick Cryer, row 3. Travis Sukup, Robert Colgan, row 4. Kenny Tripp, Stephen Wetton round out the top 10.
And it'll be through turn numbers 3 and 4. Bob Eldridge with the race lead. Green flags back in the air. We're underway.
45 laps to go. Raymond underneath Snodgrass for P2. Does that work out? Edwards clear for 4th. Cryer, he's clear for 5th over Tyler McRae. Raymond's got to run underneath. Cryer underneath, though, for P4 on his teammate. Can Cryer get the spot at the line? He can't just yet, and neither can Raymond for 2nd.
We keep things rolling as it'll be a fight for that 2nd place as well as for 4th. Down and towards turn numbers 3 and 4. The leader Eldridge pulling clear as is Raymond.
Oh!
He's maybe saves it. 3 wide, maybe down to turn 1.
You know, it got really risky when I saw him get back on the throttle, and he gets the bumper from Kendrick Cryer. 3 wide down the back. Snodgrass with a slight advantage. Cryer has to let off early because it was way too shallow.
Still tracking up towards the outside line is Billy Snodgrass trying to keep it in front. We're going to rub doors a little bit more for this fight and forth between Cryer and Austin Edwards. It's all kicking off here at North Wilkesboro, coming to 40 laps to go, 2 laps from now. And Aaron Raymond still holds the bottom for that 2nd position, but boy, is it ever tight.
Yikes. Do you feel like you like being where you are if you're Tyler McRae in 6th with the hard racing going on in front of you?
Not in the slightest. I am sweating bullets right now from Tyler McRae, just trying to keep it out of Austin Edwards in front of me.
And McRae's got company as well from Travis Sukup. Oh, Kenny Tripp. He's sideways in 3 and 4. barely saves it. I think the banking helped him out there, Nolan.
Could not agree with you more. The banking, giveth, the banking taken away. That was a self-enforced error there from Kenny Tripp as he lost the back end into 3 and 4. He's able to keep it steady. We'll look back up to the fight for second on back. As finally they single file out. Raymond from Cryer, from Edwards, from Snodgrass down to 1 and 2.
And you see Edwards took a peek underneath out of that, or a late break. Better exit from the 17. He's got a run on Raymond for that runner-up position. Oh, Edwards, a little bit of a hit from the quarter panel from Snodgrass, and Snodgrass takes away the 4th spot. What does Edwards do for payback here? Does nothing for right now. Down the back, 2 through 5 still. Single file. Also have a race here for the 6th spot. Sukup, McRae, Tripp, and Colgan. And how about Sukup tonight as well here, Nolan? Started 21st. He's in 6th. I believe that's the highest he's been in this race.
It's the highest he's been so far tonight, but has the ability to go higher as Edwards to the bottom of Snodgrass takes away 4th without too much of a fuss there from the number 18, as he's now going to try to reel in the top 3. Eldred, by the way, losing time as well. We got cars into the grass and off the track. And he's not the only one. Jezboski as well went off the track down to turn 1 as well.
Jezeboski keeps the number 82 going in the 12th position, though. A tough break for Steven Rex. He's in 17th, multiple laps down, and he brings the 37 onto pit road. But Kendrick Cryer, he is there on Bob Eldred for the race lead. We have 34 laps to go at North Wilkesboro.
So few laps left to go. It's been a long way so far here from North Carolina at this absolutely legendary racetrack as Bob Eldred continues to lead the way. It's not going to be for long, though. I'm predicting we're seeing a new leader here within the next 3 laps.
We'll see what happens there. Kendrick Cryer, as closest as he's been to Bob Eldred, throws the bumper. He decides to try to force him into making a mistake, but here comes Raymond. Cryer may have been too patient, but Raymond squirrely off the corner.
Cryer might have been too patient, Raymond too impatient, as we'll continue to work our way in the fight for the top 3. Looking for the bottom is going to be Kendrick Cryer. He's got to really get around Eldred here. It's one of those cases where if you don't move the guy in front of you, you're going to get moved.
Here he goes.
He's going to go to the inside.
Eldred opened it up for him into turn number 1. Perfect entry for the 17. Not the best drive off, though, but stays up to his door. Cryer underneath. New leader at North Wilkesboro with 30 laps to go. The pizza in 17 back out in front. Eldred tries to fight it back, though, Nolan.
Oh, he bobbles on the entry. Scares Cryer wide. He's going to get hit by Raymond.
Yeah, Eldred sent it in too deep, and Aaron Raymond gave him a disapproval shot because of it. Really displeased by that, and now Cryer can pull away here just a bit, and some drivers come out of pit road. That was Steven Rux, but Nolan, it's still a 4-car, maybe 5-car battle for the lead. Billy Snodgrass starts to close in. Here goes Raymond underneath.
Gives the bumper to Bob Eldred. Can he make this stick? Coming off the corner of 4. Not quite able just yet. He's going to shoot back to the bottom of 1 and 2. As you look from above, there is the 18 going with the crossover. 3 wide down the back straightaway into 3 and 4.
That is a bold move from Austin Edwards. Can he go 2 for 1? He's got 1 at the line. Not yet. And here,
I think now Eldred will have to finally stop in his defensive campaign, as there's just no way he'll be able to break by both these drivers in front of him.
And Austin Edwards moves up into P2. Here comes Snodgrass in the 99. Gives Eldred a slight bumper. Gets him sideways in the center, but Eldred keeps it straight. Snodgrass goes upstairs looking for P4, but he gets on the binders, does the old switcheroo.
And caution will bring
Colgan.
a premature end to this battle.
With 25 laps to go, Colgan around in turn 2.
And that was not without help, Marty, as he got tipped around by Tyler McRae.
Let's take a look and show you. Yep, there's the bumper by T-Money.
Just so slight, like barely nudged him there. If that was on the edge of the corner, he would not have spun him around. That was only because they were already getting on the power.
Yeah. It's right on board. Now we have some strategy taking place. I will show you in just a moment, but first, there's the bumper.
It's definition of a love tap, that.
Yes. Alrighty. McRae, Wilson, Johnson, Jordan, and Sukup all in the pits. McRae does 2 tires. Wilson, let's see what he does. Believe he did 4. Sukup does 4 tires. And there we go. Field resets. So we have more drivers, and Colgan comes in again. Same with Kyle Bartles. So the first guy on 4 tires is Tyler McRae, and those tires are 25 laps younger than Kendrick Ryers. So what could this do for T-Money, perhaps? Well, here's the thing. It may not help him out, though, too much, because I believe he'll have to go to the rear of the field for causing the incident.
You are correct. Brandon Kiger given an end of the longest line penalty.
And so this could help out Sukup potentially, who restarts 8th, but more drivers come in. You see Wilson and Jordan both in on pit road.
May as well. You get an extra caution lap or 2 to play with. You may as well come on down and see what you can do. Make those slight alterations and maybe get some fresh rubber on. You mentioned before a lot of drivers choosing only to take right sides on the first time, then come back down for left. I think that's what we might be seeing a lot of drivers doing. That is coming on down to fix up damage. You mentioned it rightly as well. Not a track where aero damage is something to worry about, but you still have to worry about suspension damage, which while these cars take a beating, you're still going to find yourself getting these cars knocked around a little bit when it comes to the steering columns, especially with the new damage model that's been in place on these cars for well over a season now.
Lights are off, coming to green with 20 laps to go. Kendrick Cryer, Austin Edwards, row number 1. Aaron Raymond, Bob Eldred, row 2. Billy Snodgrass, Kenny Tripp, row 3. Nick Jazoboski, Travis Sukup, row 4. Chase Johnson, Robert Colgan, the top round out the top 10. Sukup is the first driver on 4 fresh Hoosiers. So we're set to come back to green, a 20-lap shootout to determine who wins this one at North Wilkesboro. Cryer fires, we're back to green.
20 laps remaining already. We're seeing Jazoboski trying to look for 3 wide. Not going to happen, though. Coming around through 1 and 2. Side by side for the lead still. I'm expecting the 17 to take it away, though, into 3 and 4. As Austin Edwards so far has not been able to fight that outside much on the restarts. Sure enough, Kendrick Cryer leads the first lap back to green.
You got Edwards and Raymond. Door-to-door for P2. Eldred a little sideways entering the corner and move the 10 car back up to the runner-up spot. But can he clear Austin into turn number 3 is the question. The answer is yes. Snodgrass up there in 4th. He nearly gets to the quarter panel of Austin Edwards. Kenny Tripp moves into 5th.
Kenny Tripp making a move to the 5th spot. Look out, Jazoboski sideways through 1 and 2, drifting his way on in. Jazoboski going to be able to get himself sorted. He'll be now side by side with Robert Colgan on the outside, fighting to just stay now inside the top 10.
Edwards moves back into 2nd past Aaron Raymond, trying to allow Kendrick Cryer to run away from the cops once again. But now you look at the first guy in 4 tires. It's still Travis Sukup in 7th, and he's about to approach a long way of lap traffic. Tripp gets a bumper from Eldred. I think he had to check up there.
Bit of a stack up again in 3 and 4. A good old accordion effect. I don't think Kenny Tripp You have to check up a little bit. You got the back of Billy Snodgrass, and we're going to hit again, coming around through 1 and 2. Again in the run up to 3 and 4. Chase Johnson having to pedal in.
How in the world Chase Johnson didn't put the 57 or the 38 rather in the wall? I don't know. That could have been disastrous. 15 to go. Raymond is around off of Austin Edwards and stacks them up. Nobody hits him. Yellow lights come on. The second place driver goes around with 15 laps to go, and we go back yellow.
We have got to get a look on board with Billy Snodgrass and potentially with Kenny Tripp as well, because the heads-up driving that both of them had to avoid getting into that was something else entirely.
Watch this. Wow.
He jammed the brakes at the right point to be able to avoid himself, but luckily not get run over from behind.
Use a look-in car with Kenny. Man, and to avoid hitting Billy as well. What a save.
So less than 10 laps to go before we go back green. I don't think we're done with cautions just yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
What do you reckon odds are on a green-white checker here in this deal?
Pretty high.
What do we think the odds are on multiple green-white checkers in this deal?
Pretty mid.
Oh, boy.
So, let's know who you think's going to win it. A lot of Robert Colgan fans in here, from Brad Ellis to Brittany Michelle. Definitely appreciate all of you that have tuned in tonight on Slide Job Racing Network, as well as Colgan Racing Xperience. By the way, if you want to watch more of the Slide Job Racing Network broadcasts, make sure you go to YouTube, or if you're not on YouTube, if you are on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. We archive all of our broadcasts. You can watch all the broadcasts that Slide Job Racing Network does. Coming on up next week, we have on Monday the Coast to Coast Racing League Monday Night Madness 360 Sprint Cars here at Lucas Oil, and we also have as well CRX next week at Richmond. But Austin Edwards decides to bring the 18 in with 11 to go, and I believe the reason why is because he was the culprit of the incident, and he has to go to the rear, so figure why not top off on fuel and get some tires.
So, fair enough in that deal. And he's not the only one. Aaron Raymond also given a penalty as a result of that deal. So, Raymond deemed to have been a part of the incident himself. So, he's going to be given an end-of-the-longest line penalty, as well as Austin Edwards. That's interesting to me, but if race control, it's their decision at the end of the day. So, Aaron Raymond will be going to the tail of the field along with Austin Edwards.
So, now as we look at things, Billy Snodgrass moves to the front row. And we have not seen Kenny Tripp in third position since the beginning of the race. Remember, he faded back a lot at the start of this one. But he has made a great comeback to become inside of row 2 next to Chase Johnson, Travis Suka, Bob Eldred, row 3. Robert Colgan, Tyler McRae, row number 4. Nick Jezebowski, Kyle Bartles round out the top 10. We are ready to go back to green. 9 laps to go at North Wilkesboro. Cryer fires, here we go, and I think he just had his best restart of the day.
8 laps to go as we rocket down into turn numbers 1 and 2. The field fan now 3 wide behind in the mid-pack while we're double file for second. They're getting a double file back out as well, down in the turn number 3 and 4, but boy, did they ever try to go around right off of the restart. It's so far a good run for the drivers up in front. 7 laps to go.
Make it 8 to go, actually. Kenny Tripp underneath on Billy Snodgrass. Let's see if he can get the drive off. He cannot. First guy on fresher tires is that number 11 of Chase Johnson. Could they come to life? He's running out of time. 7 circuits remain.
7 circuits remain, as you mentioned rightly. Oh, we're going to touch a bit further back. Jezebowski having to scramble as he's going to ride along the side of Stephen Wetton's car. Wetton back 3 wide to the bottom. He's going to get chopped off with the 82. That was a chop out of anger. Jezebowski not happy with the 28 right now. They're going to hit again off of 4.
They touch once again for the race for 12th position. This may not be over yet, boys. As Wetton sideways in the center of 1 and 2. Off the corner, they still race door to door. Back to P2. Trip against Snodgrass. This just allows Kendrick Cryer to pull away to nearly a second with 5 to go.
5 laps left to go here from the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Still side by side for second. Cryer in a class of his own up the road. Kenny Tripp trying to fight it out with Billy Snodgrass down into 3 and 4.
And Tripp just about goes up the track but keeps his car going. And from 2nd to 11th, it is a smorgasbord with 4 laps to go. The only thing that Kendrick Cryer does not want to see is a yellow curtain flying. Oh,
boy!
Tripp, Snodgrass, they bang. Here comes Johnson for P2. 3 wide across the line with 3 to go.
Johnson tried to stick it up the inside, shoved Tripp up into Snodgrass. They touch again, coming around the turn number 3, 4 into the wall. Goes Kenny Tripp. He's going to go down, getting to Billy Snodgrass. Now back up the track. He's still almost spinning the car out, trying to keep it off the 94, but 3 wide still down the front straightaway.
2 to go, and here comes Austin Edwards from a penalty up into the 7th spot. 2 by 2 by 2. Off of turn number 2. It's still an incredible one all happening behind Cryer. Coming to the white flag here, Nolan.
White flag is out. 1 more lap to go. It is Cryer in a field all by himself. The fight is only for second on back.
Well, Chase Johnson, Travis Sukup and company all get aggressive into turn number 3. The pizza in number 17. 2 for 2 to begin the year. Kendrick Cryer takes the win. 3 wide coming to the line. Eldred edges out Snodgrass and Edwards. They keep it straight at the end. But for Kendrick Cryer, it's about to be donut time in North Wilkesboro.
What a final 10 laps or so we had here in North Carolina. That, I think, has got to be among some of the best racing you can get when it comes to street stock racing here on the Sim Service.
Look at Austin. Oh! And here comes Kenny Tripp out of nowhere. Kenny's having fun. It's post-race. He's out here to have some fun at the end. But it's Kendrick Cryer, Chase Johnson, and Travis Sukup. That is the podium. We will talk with them in just a matter of moments. Biggest mover of the race is Travis Sukup from 21st to 3rd, and I'm looking forward to asking him about that in just a moment. Here's a look at your official results here from tonight. We'll see if we have them, and I believe we do. We do. Here they are. Kendrick Cryer with the win. Chase Johnson 2nd. Travis Sukup 3rd. Bob Eldred 4th. Billy Snodgrass in 5th. 6th, Austin Edwards. 7th, Tyler McRae. 8th, Kenny Tripp. 9th, Robert Colgan. And 10th, Kyle Bartos. Nolan?
Oh boy, that's going to put it to 11. Stephen Wetton, 12th place, going to be the likes here of Aaron Raymond. 13th will hold Nick Jezebowski. The last car in the lead lap was Don Jordan at 15th. Brandon Kiger finishes in 15th. Adam Wilson down in 16th spot. For the drivers at DNF from this race, Stephen Cox, Brad Ebel, Matt Pelletier, Jason Snodgrass, and of course, Jonathan Bergeron.
And so those are how the results look here. I believe our top 3, we are waiting for them in Discord, I believe. We will get them in here shortly. But while we are at it, let's wait for them to pull into the room here. Still no sign on Travis Sukup yet, so we'll begin with our 2nd place finisher in Chase Johnson. Nolan, we'll let you take this one.
Chase, you work your way up from 13th spot to finish 2nd. A few seconds behind Kendrick Cryer at the end, but what a fight you had to outlast there to take out that 2nd place right at the end.
Yeah, I don't know how we did it. I mean, at one point in the race, we were a lap down, and it was not looking good for us at all. So it was a great comeback for the 11 camp. Just thankful to be driving this car. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Stephen Rex for allowing me to do it.
Kind of walk us through that big fight we had on the last few laps, because you made the mother of all moves to make the move there on Snodgrass and Moore down to the 3 and 4. Kind of walk us through what was going through your head when you realized it was all or nothing there.
Well, I mean, I wanted to get in the top three really bad, and they were both. I had four brand new tires, and they were both in the way, and there's no way they're gonna stop battling to. And they knew we were three wide. Just Snodgrass just decided to come down on Kenny, and nothing Kenny could do. It's just great racing though. I'd like to see what that looked like on the broadcast.
Of course, next week it'll be the Richmond Raceway. We swung on up to Virginia. What's your thoughts as the speeds will get a little bit higher down to the 3/4 of a mile short track?
Richmond is not my place. I'm gonna really have to get lucky to do good there. So we'll see.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then, Chase. Congratulations once again on that second place finish. Hopefully it'll be one better, and we'll see you in Victory Lane in Virginia.
Thank you.
So that's
Chase Johnson. Oh,
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, that was Chase Johnson joining us up in that second position, and I still don't see Travis Suitcup, but I do see our race winner, Kendrick Kayer there, Marty.
Yep, let's talk with Cryer in the 17. Kendrick, 2 for 2. It's got to feel good.
Very good. I mean, I came into this race. I mean, I didn't have much practice build time for setup, but I think I made the decision that a 15-minute setup is better than a 1-hour setup.
So now when you guys pitted after that first long run ended, what was the strategy between you and Austin on the 4-tire situation? And were you surprised to see a lot of guys take 2 tires considering all the tire sets you guys had?
Yeah, I seen that. It was pretty interesting. I mean, that long green flag run that we did have, where it was like 80 laps or something, I was pretty scared because I wouldn't have been able to make it without pitting, honestly. I think Austin would have made it somehow, but that's just Austin. But I was glad that caution came out. I was able to take 4, and we got up through the field a little bit, and I think we got up, I don't even remember. I think I got up to the lead or second or something before that caution, and then we pitted again, and it ended up working out.
Now, when you have those cautions, breeding cautions in the final laps, obviously that's expected on the short tracks. But who did you feel like was your toughest competitor?
I think either Austin Edwards or Aaron. If Aaron and Austin didn't get together, I think they would have gave me a really good shot. And Travis on 4 new tires after that last one of the last cautions where we all stayed out, and I knew Travis pitted, and I think he would have gave me a good shot too.
Well, next week we've got Richmond. What's your outlook look like there?
We'll be there for sure. We'll see how it goes. It's a fixed setup race. I mean, we'll figure it out. That'll be a little more of a strategic race than what today was, but should be all right, hopefully.
Who do you want to give shout-outs to?
I think Austin Edwards and Chris L. Johnson for words of inspiration once again. I think he's my good luck for this year in CRX, and it's working out. EHP Racing, Zoom's setup shop. We brought out a hot rod today, that's for sure.
You guys absolutely did. Way to go, man. Congratulations, 2 for 2 to begin the year.
Thank you.
So Kendrick Cryer is your winner in Victory Lane, 2 for 2 to begin the year. So, Nolan, as we sign things off, next week we go to Richmond, and that should be, as we mentioned, a lot of fun to watch. We actually had a preseason race take place here where it's a little bit of a hybrid of a short track and an intermediate.
Bit of a short hybrid between that short track and the intermediate, especially though when it comes to these straight stocks. The draft is going to play a bit more of a role than it did here tonight, especially up down the front straightaway with how much sooner you can get on the throttle coming out of turn numbers 3 and 4. The track surface not as abrasive, so I think we'll be seeing some long runs there. I think we're going to be in for just as thrilling a race over to Richmond than we had here tonight.
So with that being said, we will bid adieu on the night. Next time we are with you on Slide Job Racing Network. Monday, we've got the Coast to Coast Racing League's Monday Night Madness at Lucas Oil Speedway. And then on Tuesday next week, CRX is at Richmond Raceway. Both races begin at 7:45 p.m. Again, for a full schedule and to get your series broadcast on the air, check out SlideJobRacingNetwork.weebly.com. On behalf of everyone at the Slide Job Racing Network, on behalf of CRX and Robert Colgan, on behalf of Nolan Rempel, Marty Sakala signing things off, congratulations to Kendrick Cryer. He's your winner, 2 for 2 to begin this season.